looking back, do you think we should have went to Iraq?
No, we should have not gone to Iraq. Iraq was probably the biggest strategic failure so far in the, I think, in the 21st century. Now we're into the third decade of the 21st century. I absolutely think, and I believe strongly, with good evidence, and I can talk to you all day about this, that it was a massive, massive failure in decision making at the highest levels of the U.S. government, and of course that's George Bush, the president at the time, Rumsfeld, Secretary of Defense Cheney, and there were others. Huge mistake for us to go into Iraq. We could have easily just sanctioned the crap out of Saddam. Hell, if they wanted to go in there and assassinate him, they could have assassinated him, but it wouldn't have gotten anybody better. But big mistake. We could have contained Saddam, easily contained Saddam. I mean, hell, this audience, so you know, for 8 years we supported Iraq and their war against Iran.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy, the back and forth. So huge failure in decision making at the highest
Saddam
levels.
was an ally at one point, and we don't like to talk about that, but he was.
No, we don't. And I think it was just a vendetta on the part, and that's me, and that's what I believe. It was a bit of a vendetta on the part of the Bush administration.
Well, I'll tell you what, I take your opinion way more serious than everyone else because you were there on the ground.
Yeah, and
unlike these other neocons that wrote the policy and all this other shit.
And they talk about nuclear weapons and all this bullshit. I mean, it's our government constantly lies to us, and so as I got further and further on in my career and more senior, so what your audience is hearing from me and the way I talk right now, this is how I am. So like it or not, I mean, this is kind of how I am.
No, they love you. Don't worry.
Well, I
see in the chat right now.
So I'm very blunt. I treat people really well. I mean, I always will treat people really well because I appreciate honesty, and I appreciate, like if you sit around in a big table. I mean, I've had jobs. The director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. I'd have a staff meeting, and my staff would be like 25 people, right, all sitting around a big oak table, right. I mean, it's the headquarters in Washington D.C., and I would cherish those backbenchers when I would say, okay, we're about to make a big decision here. Is this what we want to do to everybody? And of course, you just kind of know who the ass kissers are. But then some little young, government servant in the back row would raise their hand and go, well, sir, I think this is pretty stupid. And I'd be like, oh my God, I want to hug that person. Because that's what you want. It's for any of you that grew up, and I grew up, with the story of the emperor has no clothes, right? And the emperor's riding through town on the back, on the back of a horse with no clothes on, and it finally gets to the end, and some little kid says, "Hey, man, you don't got any clothes on," and the emperor gets embarrassed, right? Because nobody else wanted to tell the emperor they didn't have any clothes on, and that's what happens when you get higher and higher and more senior in rank. Is you have all these people around you that want to tell you what they think you want to know, and instead of telling you what you need to know, and that's the way I am. So I want people to be like that around me. And I am that way around others. When I don't get enamored by rank or position. I'm not enamored by presidents of the United States. I'm not enamored by kings or princes or prime ministers. I've been in the company of many of those types of those titles. I have some who are friends.
Do you think? So we talked about Iraq. Do you think we needed to also go into Afghanistan, or do you think that was also a colossal failure as well?
So
and the way we pulled out, if you could comment on that as well, what your opinion is on that?
Yeah, so for those, so we went into Afghanistan with the right intentions, but the wrong, and this is a little bit of quarterback, and I'm Monday morning quarterbacking here a bit, so people understand that. The Monday morning quarterbacking is that when I look back at it, because I was in Afghanistan, God, I used to say I lived in Iraq and I vacationed in Afghanistan. I was over there for almost 3.5 years straight. So
was this after you? So you guys got rid of Zarqawi and then Afghanistan was the next?
No, I was in Afghanistan before Zarqawi even came on the scene. So I had been deployed to Afghanistan early
Gotcha.
on. So we went into Afghanistan with the right intentions, but the wrong.
What year did you get there?
The first time I was in Afghanistan was early 2002.
Oh wow!
So
okay,
yeah,
so before even the Iraqi invasion.
Oh yeah. Before Iraq was even, they were starting to think about it. We knew that, and that was a big mistake, like I said. But so we should have gotten out of Afghanistan when we put Karzai, President Karzai, in charge the first time in June of 2004 time frame.
And the reason we went is because at the time there was information that bin Laden was in Afghanistan, right?
Right.
That was the main reason we went there.
The main reason he was there,
and then he was in Pakistan.
And then he absconded to he probably there's some great books out there and speculation. The Iranians probably protected him for a little while, and then he moved into Pakistan. There's a lot. I mean, when that whole story comes out, and if you really dig in bits and pieces, it's so ugly. From a U.S. intelligence community perspective, how the failures, and folks, what I'm telling you is we do have good people in our country, in parts of our government, but the culture of some of these organizations at the very top is where it really gets set up, gets set in, right?
I agree, yeah.
It's just terrible. So we should have gotten out of Afghanistan really after we put Karzai in charge the first time. And when he was in charge, we should have downsized. And I'm this is hindsight, right? Because at the time, the first time I was there, I was a colonel, and I was asked the question, by some media. I did a media interview there in Bagram, and it was early. It was very early on. It was probably like May of 2002. And I was asked to, we have some media that showed up. They brought him in a plane. Can you go talk to him? And I did. And I was asked, well, how many enemy are we facing here? We've been told that there's only a few enemy left in Afghanistan, that everybody's out, everybody's been killed or captured or whatever. And I said, at the time, this was like May, I said, well, yeah, and I knew the numbers that we had, captured or killed at the time, and it was small numbers. And I said, yeah, there might be, we may be facing 10,000, spread across the southern and eastern part of Afghanistan. But I said, but there's 500, and I went just like this, just like I'm pointing right now to the media. I said there's 500,000 of them across the border in Pakistan, and that's going to be our problem. And I remember specifically giving a presentation to some leadership that came out of Washington, D.C., who told us, don't start building things here because we're not going to be here for a long time. And I was like looking at them, and I'm looking at them. This is 2002, early. Yeah. And we were like, are you kidding me? That never happens like that. And I told them that the greatest threat that we're going to face is information. And the information operations that these people are so good at, because Afghanistan, is they call it the graveyard of empires, right? The British Empire, the Soviet Empire, and now the American Empire. So you asked me about the retreat, really. I call it the retreat from Afghanistan. When we left, we retreated. We retreated under enemy fire. We left Americans behind enemy lines. We had people that were unnecessarily killed, the brave 13 that were at that gate that day. And we lost, wounded, a couple of hundred from that explosion. And everybody saw the C-17 taking off from Kabul International Airfield with the guy hanging off the friggin' you saw it, right?
Yeah,
it's nuts. I mean, that should never have happened. It should never have happened. We are much better than that as a military. And for our military leaders, the 4 stars, the 2 stars, the generals, the admirals that were in charge of that mess, they ought to all be. They should resign if they're not already resigned, and they should. I'm not going to sit here and say that they should be court-martialed, but they should, because they're following the orders of their civilian masters, and the orders were just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So we could have left in a much calmer, in a much more organized manner. People have died and are seriously wounded because of the complete debacle caused by a guy who has dementia. I hate to say it.
Yeah,
I mean, I call him Uncle Joe because he's, my Uncle Joe, who I had, he'd be in bed by 4.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky if Joe makes it to 4.
Yeah.
I mean, and I want people to understand that his behavior didn't just happen like this, last week. I mean, this has been going on since he became president of the United States. So I want people to understand that this is This is the presidency of the United States of America. This is the person that's supposed to be responsible for being the leader of this country, the free world. And his number one priority, the number one priority of the U.S. government is to protect the safety and security of the American people, period. Mm-hmm. Everything else is secondary. Whether or not we, spend billions of dollars in Ukraine or billions of dollars in the Middle East or going elsewhere around the world, the number one priority is to provide for the safety and protection of the people of the United States of America, period.
This episode is sponsored by Rumble Premium. The sponsorship's from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of all the companies. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for small creators, and they didn't censor or have biases. They were fair, treated all creators equally, and no one thought that these platforms would censor political conversations or censor opinions on the bear bug, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell into the pressure from the Biden and Harris administration, but Rumble did not. They held the line, and they were attacked from daily giving us the voice to talk to you. They are attacked from corporate media. They are attacked by the governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble will not survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most that they ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is joining Rumble Premium. Join a community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human rights to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use the code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. And if you don't have the means, we're just happy to watch us on Rumble. So one more time, rumble.com/premium, use the code STUDIO. And thank you, Rumble Premium, for sponsoring this episode.